Okay, in the last two videos I showcased making this outfeed table, and if you haven't seen those you might want to check it out. I'll put the link in the description. But the extension table that came with the saw when I bought it used is on a mobile base, and there was this small cabinet in there. It was always a little awkward to move it around, and now in this space I don't need to move it, so I removed the wheel mobile assembly. I left it on there because I'm tall and I like the table just a little bit higher. But anyhow, I'm going to build some cabinetry into this to sort of match the outfeed table and make this space a little more user-friendly. And of course I started by breaking down plywood. This entire project is going to be made out of 3/4 inch birch plywood, even the drawers. Some of it is pre-finished on the shell, that way I don't have to stink up the shop. And this piece is basically the base that will saddle over the lower rails of the mobile base that I'm leaving in place. And because this is shop cabinetry, I'm not worried about elaborate joinery. I'm using pocket hole jigs, don't judge me. It's plenty strong enough for what I'm building, and the other reason is I'm trying to get this build done in one day, so that will help me achieve that. Alright, this piece is basically the face frame and the drawer faces in one. I'm going to use the track saw and just very carefully cut these sections out of the middle. And instead of throwing those segments into the scrap pile, I can use them as the faces. Once I get these sections cut out, I'll clean them up very carefully with a very light pass on the table saw, and then I'll border them with some walnut and it'll accent it nicely. But I'll stack them and mark them carefully so that I can keep a continuous grain going to try to keep this aesthetically as nice as possible. Once I had that face frame section all cut out, I cut 2 panels for the sides, and I'll be attaching these sides with pocket hole screws, and I realized the orientation in which the screws are going toward the outside of this face frame isn't terribly strong and it's not ideal. But I sanded the back of these just very lightly to take the finish off so that I could also apply some glue. But again, this is a face frame and there's not a ton of force on this anyway, so the pocket hole screws and the glue will be plenty strong enough. Then once I had both sides screwed on, I just screwed some stretchers in the back for strength and support. Once that's done, it's time to screw the top on. And again, I'm using pocket hole screws because I'm trying to see how many times I can say pocket hole in this video. Maybe I'll start saying the screw that shall not be named. But anyhow, you can see this top is a little bit long, and that's by design because there's going to be a cubby area to the left of the drawers where my crosscut sled is going to slide into. And now before I mount the cabinet on its base, it's far easier to mount the drawer slides in it when it's laying on its side. Once I get the drawer slides installed, I installed the panel on the left, which is going to be where the crosscut sled slides into. When I got that done, then I just stapled an MDF panel on the back. This way it will give us some rigidity, and it's nothing fancy. Nobody's going to see the back of this anyhow. Once the back was stapled on, I could move it over and stick it in position. Thank goodness my measurements were correct and it did fit into place. And then once I had it slid in there, I used some screws that shall not be named and mounted it onto the base. Once I got that done, I was able to get some good measurements and start building my drawer boxes. I cut all the components and I want to start gluing them up. It's well past lunchtime and I'm getting really hungry, but I want to get these glued up so I can go in and eat and let them start to set up before I come back and progress on them. The only way I'm going to get this done in one day is to persevere and starve a little bit right now. Once I get it glued up, I always check it for square, but because the drawer bottom is square, it usually squares up the drawer very nicely, and this usually isn't an issue. But now I can finally go get some food. Yeah, crap. I can't go eat yet. I forgot I have to get the perimeter done on the drawer faces so that glue can dry up. If I only was sponsored, I would kick in some Chomps ad or AGT, but I'm not. So you're going to have to listen to my stomach growl and no ads, but I'll get these drawer faces done and then I'll finally go in and eat, and then I'll be back. Alright, I did finally get some lunch, much later, almost dinner time, but now it's almost dark out. The drawers are dry enough to work with. I gave them a good sanding and I got them installed. Now I can spend some time working on the drawer faces and give you the obligatory sanding montage. Have I ever told you how much I hate sanding? It really makes me wonder why I decided to pick up woodworking. And with that unpleasantness done, I can move on to drilling out the drawer pull holes. This is again far easier to do on the bench before it's installed on the drawer. It's easier to mark it out and get it centered. And then with these holes drilled, it'll make it a breeze installing these drawer faces on the drawers. And it's a breeze because all you do is set up a stack of boards or some kind of shim at the bottom. I did ensure that this was indeed level, and then I can set the drawer face on it, and that holds it in position while I use the pre-drilled holes in the drawer face to drill into the drawer. Once I have the drawer handle mounted, that holds the face in position for me to get screws in the back. Once that lower drawer is installed, I just cut a spacer to set the next drawer on, and that makes it a breeze to align these drawers and get them mounted. And just like that, they're perfectly in line with each other with an even reveal all the way around. And now this thing's almost done, and I step back and look at it, and I don't love the raw laminated plywood facing you on the front of it. I had a little bit of walnut left over from what I did around the drawers, so I'm going to go ahead and just put a small trim accent on the front of that to kind of cover up that plywood edge. And now for finish, I'm just using Danish oil that I can wipe on in a hurry, and it'll really make that walnut pop. The rest of the plywood is all pre-finished on the face, so I don't need to do anything with that. Once I get this Danish oil on in the next few days, I may put one or two more coats on it to really give it a little bit more of a sheen. But otherwise, this thing's done. Well, it's 11:30 at night, and it's very cold. It's actually about 12 below zero outside, but I managed to get this done in one day. It's all finished in the same theme as the outfeed table, and it looks very nice in my opinion, and my crosscut sled has a home. So now all that's left is, well, I can now fill my drawers. Hey, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.